In this video, we're going to talk about engine cleaning. Welcome back, everybody, to our detailing training series. We're going to show you all the tips, the tricks, the tools to use to get the best job in the most efficient manner so you can make your company money. So remember that we have standard operating procedures you can download in the description below, and also a quality checklist with signatures for you or your employees to run your detailing business. All right, engine cleaning is a bit of a topic that is it worth the risk? There is a risk when you are cleaning an engine, especially if it's an EV or if it's an older vehicle, something with exposed wired connections, open air filters, a lot of things that you need to watch out for when cleaning an engine. So we're gonna go over everything that you need to cover or stay away from so you don't damage an engine while cleaning it. Do you need to clean an engine? That's debatable. On a show car, yeah, you want to clean it, you want to polish it, you're going to be showing off that work. Cleaning an engine is absolutely necessary if you have some sort of show car. For a daily driver, it doesn't have a whole lot of damaging effects on the engine if you don't clean it. In fact, if you clean it, you're probably risking more damage to it than if you just left it alone, right? But there are certain cars that want the engine compartment clean, like dealerships. If they're going to resell a car, they want it as clean as possible. Sometimes mechanics will request an engine to be cleaned to see if there's any leaks or any damage within there. So they want a clean engine to look at. And it's aesthetically pleasing to look at a clean engine. My philosophy on engine cleaning is I rather have an engine that is not perfectly clean, but it still runs and functions and there's no damage, than having a perfectly clean engine that is now waterlogged or has damage or needs something to fix. I never clean an engine to make it 100% perfect. I let my customers know that. That's super important. Set the expectations, let them know. I do have a terms and condition policy that I do have all my customers sign before we do any type of engine cleaning, because I don't want to be responsible for any damage that may happen. I let them know we do use a little bit of water to clean the engine and that there is a risk to it, and I don't want to be liable. They are signing over their responsibility on their end when I'm doing this engine cleaning. With that said, we want to take every precaution we can so we don't have to cause any damage when we're cleaning the engine. So let's go over the tools and the steps on how to do this. Step number one, I've lifted the hood. We have a very dirty engine. I'm gonna put my gloves on, I have my flashlight, and I'm gonna do a quick inspection. Here's the fuse box over here. You can actually see that this engine has a no pressure washer sign on it. Do not use the pressure washer on this engine. This is the fuse box. I'm looking, it looks like it opens right here. You can see how water could get down inside there. I do not want to use the pressure washer there at all. Nothing looks cracked, everything looks good. We're looking for any pre-existing damage, especially on any electrical or connectors. If you see something that is not fully plugged in, or a fuse box is cracked or not fully sealed, those are big causes for concern. We don't want any water in those types of areas. Inside here, you can see that there's a lot of oil buildup. These are the coil packs, and you can see that we have a cover over this one to protect it. You can see a bunch of dirt and maybe some water or whatever has come in here, but this is a protective shield, so you don't have water that goes in there. We definitely do not want water near any of the coil packs, especially pooling water that sits there. I'm not going to clean inside there. Again, I'm going to talk to my customer, let them know the risks involved when cleaning this stuff. Now, I can get in there with a damp microfiber and wipe all that up, but really, you shouldn't be using water on any of those electrical parts. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stay away from that area. I'll lift it back up in case I do get a little bit of water. Little bit of water is gonna be just fine, but as long as you clean that up afterwards. The best way to clean an engine, if you're going to clean it, is actually using dry ice. This is a process that cleans and removes any dirt or built-on oil or anything that's within the engine, and it actually super freezes it and breaks it from the surface. Now, I know that we all don't have access to a dry ice machine. It is expensive, it requires a certain amount of air, but it is the safest and probably the quickest way to clean an engine if you're going to do it. The reason I'm making this video is because most of us don't have a dry ice machine at our disposal to clean an engine the best possible way. So we're gonna go the second possible way, and I'm gonna show you. So after we inspect everything, I'm gonna use simply just some air to remove any of the standing dust or dirt or leaves within the cowling to get most of that up as much as possible. Then I'm going to cover anything that could possibly be damaged by water, because I'm going to use the pressure washer a little bit and I don't want to get this stuff soaked. So I'm going to cover up some of these electrical parts like so. I have some tape if I need it. I'm going to cover the alternator as well. Cover that up so there's no water that gets in there. This fuse box too, that to where I can cover that, tuck that in. I can also use a towel here as well if I wanted to cover this battery. I'm going to cover the top of the battery. I don't want to get any water in there. Just being safe. Put that over there, and then I can lay a towel right over that too so it stays in place. All right, so now I'm gonna clean this area, this area, this area, this area, and that area with my pressure washer. So one of the potential risks or damages that can happen when cleaning an engine is not even in the engine compartment. It's the painted surfaces or the plastics around the fenders or the hood. So I actually use the pressure washer to pressure wash the top of the hood. I stay away from that center heat shield. I don't want to put any water in that directly. It'll get real heavy and start to sag and could cause damage. But the chemical that we could use, we don't want that to dry on anything. We don't want to have it dry on the paint surface. We don't want it to dry on the actual trim. So by getting everything around that wet, it makes it so where the chemical that we're using is going to be a little more diluted and it won't dry as fast. Very important, whatever product that you decide to use, a degreaser, an all-purpose cleaner, they're all going to work really well for removing dirt and grime in the engine area. Make sure that you look at the dilution ratios. Everything's a little bit different when it comes to dilution ratios. That manufacturer will have recommendations depending on what you're cleaning. So make sure if you're using a concentrated product, you don't use that full, because again, it can cause damage. These are very harsh chemicals sometimes, and we don't want any damage to happen. So just read that bottle, get the dilution ratios correct before you start to spray anything on the surface of a car. I like to use Brake Buster. Purple Monster by Car Candy is also an awesome product, highly dilutable. This is a degreaser made for that. I'm gonna start by just spraying the hood, and again, just around the engine compartment. I'm gonna use a couple different brushes, a dedicated towel to clean those areas real well, and then I'm gonna rinse it. This is a dedicated wheel mitt, or right now it's a dedicated engine compartment mitt. I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna clean areas like the bottom of this hood. I'll clean this cowling here real well. Clean the top of this. If I need to use the brush to get in there. You can kind of tell that this is an area that does get wet. It actually has holes for water drainage. Because of the front grille here, you know, some of this water may come through here as you're driving. Perfectly fine. So we know that area is okay to get wet. When I'm using the pressure washer, you can see I'm not spraying directly into the engine. I just want to spray the outside and the hood to rinse. Engines are mostly watertight, so a little water is going to be okay. But the velocity of the water coming out of the pressure washer could potentially push water into the seal of an electrical component that's not supposed to get wet if you direct the pressure washer into the engine compartment. Now you can see there's parts of this engine that got wet, but we have this stuff covered up, so I feel confident that, you know, we didn't get water or shove water into any of those parts. Now, the next step is use a microfiber, and I can come in here and use this is my wheel bucket that I was using, wring that out, and now I have a damp towel, and I can wipe all of that dirt up in these areas here. So I'm gonna wipe, clean these areas. You can see how dirty it is. Clean some of this oil up. And I'm gonna clean it by hand. Again, is it gonna be perfect? It's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be much cleaner. It's gonna look better. And most importantly, we're not going to cause any damage. This is going to prevent any water that is flooded within that engine compartment. There is a lot of bad things that can happen if you let water sit. So if we flood that using a pressure washer, that pressure washer could actually push water into a lot of these connections and cause shorts. We don't want that. Water that sits inside of these electrical components or even sits inside some of the engine areas can start to corrode and start to cause problems down the road, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks later. So we want to make sure there's no standing water, there's no puddling or pooling water anywhere in the engine compartment. And to do this is we just use as little water as possible as we're cleaning. Again, is it going to be perfect? Probably not 100% perfect, but it's going to be really, really clean. Once I cleaned a section, I can actually take a dry towel now and my air, and I'm going to dry as much of this liquid up as possible because I don't want to have any standing water on any of these and then force the water in with the air. So that would be another bad thing. So we're going to use our dry towel, kind of clean up everything as much as possible, and then use our air. On the actual heat shield here, I'll use air and just a towel just to wipe it. I don't try to get too close with the air. I don't want it to start fraying or falling apart, but I want to dry it and then clean it, get any fuzzies that are sitting off. The last part of the engine detail is if you want to spruce it up and if you want it to give it a little bit of shine, you can use a water-based dressing. Do not use a solvent-based dressing. Solvent-based dressing is usually flammable and you don't want that in an engine. This is by Car Candy. It is a water-based dressing, and I'm just gonna spray all of the plastic areas here, enhance how it looks. So I can spray some of these plastic areas there, the air box, that. Perfectly fine to spray on here. This will give it a better look. Now you can let this sit for a couple minutes, you can let it set up, but I want to come back with a dry microfiber and just wipe everything so it's a nice even shine. I'll use my air here. Use my air to kind of spread it around and get a nice even. You can see it's a thicker product, so again, then we're just going to use our dry microfiber here and wipe away any excess and make sure it's dry. After we've sprayed everything, we want to remove any of the Dressol that may have gotten on the fenders. So I'll close that and give it a nice rinse. You can see why we do this before we actually wash the car. We're ready now to actually give the car a wash, but that is how you safely clean an engine. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them down below. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. There's a lot more videos on the entire detailing process. Thanks for watching.